You were told that memory is something passive, that it lives in the past, like an old journal entry, like something behind you. But memory doesn't sit quietly in the past. Memory bends the present. Memory sculpts your reality. Memory codes your identity. And the longer you carry unprocessed memory, the more your life becomes a looping echo of something that already ended, but never completed. The Atlantis Brain Theory teaches this. Memory is not storage. Memory is architecture. It doesn't just remember your life, it renders it. Your memories are not just recollections. They are structural instructions. They inform how your subconscious reacts to the present. They filter what you believe is possible. They even shape how your body interprets time and safety and power. And when a memory is unresolved, it doesn't disappear. It programs. It embeds itself in the subconscious. It becomes an emotional signature. And that signature repeats again and again until it becomes identity. Let's make it plain. If you were rejected at 5 years old, that moment didn't end when it ended. It became signal. That signal became pattern. That pattern became self-perception. And now, you get ghosted by someone at 33 and your system doesn't see it as a singular event. It triggers the original signal. You don't feel 33, you feel 5, instantly, without language, without logic, without permission. That's the power of memory. It collapses time. It brings a version of you from the past and overlays it on top of the present. And unless you know how to interrupt that pattern, it will continue to shape your future. Not because you're weak, because your subconscious is brilliant and loyal. And it doesn't care what you want. It cares what you survived. Here's the real kicker. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between a real memory and an imagined one. That means, the same way you became wired through memory, you can become rewired through imagination. But not just imagination as fantasy, imagination as engineering, using focused thought, elevated emotion, and repeated neural rehearsal to overwrite the memory's emotional weight. Because the brain doesn't care what happened. It cares what you believe happened. And belief shapes the architecture. When people try to heal, what they're often doing is looking at memory and trying to make sense of it. But memory doesn't shift through logic. Memory shifts through frequency. If you revisit a memory while in the same emotional state that created it, you reinforce the original code. But if you revisit the memory from a new elevated state, calm, clarity, alignment, you begin to override the structure. You're not deleting the memory. You're upgrading the emotional algorithm that lives underneath it. Let's say a specific memory keeps replaying. A heartbreak, a betrayal, a moment of humiliation. You've tried journaling it, talking it out, even meditating on it. But nothing really changes. Why? Because the emotion tied to the memory is still dominant. The subconscious uses repetition and emotion to decide what's true. So if you keep replaying the same scene, even just internally, your generator, your subconscious, thinks it's still happening. Your body responds, your breath shortens, your heart rate shifts, your self-perception tightens. That's how memory becomes matter. It literally begins to bend the physical world around you by anchoring your signal to a specific identity loop. And here's where you reclaim power. You can rehearse new memory. You can construct new signal pathways. You can install new timelines into the subconscious. And once the generator accepts them, the simulation obeys. Not because you're being delusional, but because the field doesn't care if your signal is based on memory or vision. It only checks for coherence. It asks, is this signal consistent? Is it emotionally charged? Is it repeating? And if it is, it becomes your life. This is why the most dangerous memories aren't the ones that hurt the most. They're the ones that loop silently, the ones you think you've outgrown, the ones that created just enough of a wound to make you doubt your signal. That one time a parent said, "You're too much." That one moment a teacher embarrassed you in front of the class. That one breakup that seemed casual but made you question your worth. They become the default background frequency, and because they're quiet, they go unexamined. That's where fragmentation starts. The Atlantis Brain Theory calls these silent codes, unspoken memories that broadcast from beneath awareness. They show up as resistance. They show up as doubt. They show up as self-sabotage. But they're not flaws. They're flags. They're signal beacons saying, this part of the field hasn't been updated. When you bring new memory, engineered memory, into those pockets of the field, you don't just change behavior. You change gravitational pull. You change what your system seeks. You change what it believes it deserves. And that changes everything. This is not theory. This is architecture. If you begin every morning imagining, vividly and emotionally, that your signal is clear, that your body is aligned, that your future is unfolding in coherence with your blueprint, you are not pretending, you are installing. And with enough emotional repetition, the memory of the future becomes more real than the trauma of the past. And when that happens, you collapse the timeline. What should have taken years of healing, months of effort, a lifetime of struggle, shifts in hours, in days, in real time, because memory bent the simulation. So here's your code. Every time you remember something painful, ask yourself, what signal is this broadcasting? Every time you react strongly, ask yourself, which memory is trying to be completed? And every time you feel stuck, ask, which version of me is still driving this pattern? Then take the wheel, not by force, by clarity. Show your system a new memory, one that feels better, one that feels real, one that vibrates with truth. Repeat it until it becomes law, then walk like it's already installed, because it is. You don't fix the past, you out-signal it. You don't chase the future, you rehearse it. You don't beg the field, you broadcast coherence. And when you do, memory bends matter, and the simulation bends for you. Memory isn't what happened. Memory is what still speaks. And in episode 3, we'll explore how belief is not opinion. It's architecture. And architecture can be rebuilt. Subscribe. The structure is waking up.